Sherman, set the Wayback Machine for 1869. By 1965, Westerns were on the decline, whereas some science fiction programs and especially spy shows based on highly successful James Bond series were on the rise. So, it was decided to make a Western with spy elements. The end result was The Wild Wild West. Oh, God, no. No, I'm talking about the TV show that this abomination was allegedly based on. Starring Richard Conrad and Ross Martin as James West and Artemis Gordon, it was based around the idea that there always be at least one beautiful woman, some sort of evil plot, and lots of gadgets bordering on steampunk, similar to the show we looked at previously, The Adventures of Briscoe County Jr. They would do things like, say, deal with a prison warden who was using criminals to commit crimes, or an attempt to use a specially armored train to take out rival companies and rule the rails. Or, on multiple occasions, the diminutive mad scientist Dr. Miguelito Loveless. On one occasion near the end of the first season, however, they encountered a foe that was very unusual, which is why I've chosen it for this review. Ladies and gentlemen and cowpokes, The Wild Wild West, The Night of the Burning Diamond. Our story opens with our hero, James West, visiting the Serbian embassy in Washington. It seems it's going to be an international jewel show, and the Serbians have offered the services of their Kara diamond, over 200 carats. Of course, this also happens to have been a series of daring jewel robberies, and if this particular diamond was to be stolen, it would be, well, an embarrassment to the United States, to say the least. The ambassador, however, is perfectly confident the security he has set up is absolutely foolproof and nothing could possibly go wrong.
Only for the most privileged guests. A private showing.
Two of those would make quite a pair of cufflinks.
Huh? Oh, a joke. You Americans do like your little jokes, don't you?
We also like 200-carat diamonds. It's a beautiful stone.
One of the world's finest. That is why I do not wish it to leave the perfect protection we have provided for it.
Every place that's been robbed lately has been perfectly protected, or so the people feel.
Relax, Mr. West. Nothing can happen to the Kara here. There's only one door to the room. The hall outside is patrolled 24 hours a day, and we Serbians are jealous of our national treasures. As for the windows, let me show you. You see? The fence is high, and the guards are ever vigilant, with orders to shoot, if necessary. This room is as safe... The Kara, it's gone.
Accused of stealing the diamond, James has to make a rather heroic escape from the embassy and coordinates with his friend and partner Artemis Gordon aboard their traveling headquarters, the train known as the Wanderer.
First of all, let's just look at the facts. The diamonds disappear in broad daylight, yet nobody's ever seen a thief. Second, nothing's ever missing except diamonds. Other valuable gems, even in the same case, are left untouched. The third, there's always an indication of some tremendous force being present, like the shattered glass.
Interesting, but not very illuminating.
Well, one thing at a time. Now, here's my thought. Maybe those diamonds aren't being stolen at all. Maybe, through the application of that tremendous force, they are being made to, now, will you believe this, to explode from within.
Artie, do you believe it?
No, you think I'm some kind of a nut?
Since one of the few places that haven't been robbed yet is the home of a Lady Margaret, who has promised to show her fabulous Queen Anne triplets, the 3 beautiful diamonds, as part of the display, West heads over there and finds that the lady is not in.
Unfortunately, my aunt has recently departed on a long voyage. I'm Morgan Midas. This is my fiancée, Lucretia of Roundon. How do you do? You're a very lucky man. Your aunt must have altered her plans rather suddenly. Yes, well, it was a reoccurrence of her old ailment, the gout. The only remedy is the mineral waters of Germany.
She asked us to care for her house until she returns.
I see. Well, she must have informed you of her promise to show the diamonds at the international exhibit next week.
Figuring there must have been some sort of mistake, West offers to open the safe where the diamonds are kept so that they could be verified to be there and taken to the exhibit. However, of course, the safe is empty, rather obvious due to the exceedingly shifty behavior of Midas and his fiancée. They claim, of course, that there is some sort of misunderstanding, and Lucretia tries to use her charms to convince West not to take them in, and this happens.
That's a start.
I'll bet you have never been kissed like that before. Has he, Midas?
So, West has managed to get himself captured in 3 minutes. A new record. While Jim is enjoying the hospitality of Mr. Midas, Gordon is dealing with a problem of his own. The rather officious and unpleasant individual in charge of the exhibit, who is determined that this display should be absolutely perfect, consistently getting in the way as Artemis attempts to make it so, until he's forced to show him exactly what he's got set up so the guy will simply shut up and go away.
Mr. Gordon, I've heard so much about your ingenious devices. I hope you've contrived some effective burglar alarms here.
Touch the display case. Go ahead, just touch the outside of it.
What was that?
You've just had your picture taken. Would you like me to send you a copy?
No, thanks. I'm afraid my expression wouldn't be typical of me.
Satisfied, sir?
Not exactly. Alarms are all very well and good, but we need some more positive kind of protection.
The entire place is going to be surrounded by soldiers.
Oh, yes, of course, but humans are all too fallible.
Mr. Baines, this display case is going to house the most expensive of all the jewels in the exhibit. Believe me, sir, it is well protected.
Oh, really? I see what you mean.
I'm so glad. Now, if you'll just let me get to work, Mr. Baines, I'll try to have this ready for the arrival of the jewels tomorrow.
Yes, well, thank you. This is fine, but what are you doing about the entrance to this room?
Pressure plates, Mr. Baines. Once any of these display cases have been disturbed in any way, the slightest pressure on the floor at the entrance will cause 2 barred gratings to close. And presto, you'll have your thieves.
Under the care and attention of the man, West manages to figure out pretty much what he's doing, but not exactly why. However, being a maniacal villain, Midas just loves to gloat.
It's quite a setup. Yes, isn't it? You see, I'm somewhat of a scientist. I have a small experiment in progress. But I'm sure you know something about that. Why should I? I thought that was the reason you were so insistent upon seeing my aunt's diamonds.
I told you, my job was to protect the diamonds at the exhibition. Apparently I'm too late.
Time, sir, is relative. But you're right. You are too late. Right, isn't it? Burning at 4,000 degrees. You see, my little project requires a great direct heat.
4,000 degrees? Well, with that kind of heat, you could burn it.
Quite correct, sir. I could burn a diamond.
Now, Artemis is not just an inventive genius, he's also a master of disguise. So when Jim doesn't come back from the house of Lady Margaret, he decides to investigate himself, being somewhat less obvious than noted Secret Service agent Artemis Gordon. That he tends to have a bit of a theatrical flair.
Count Felix von Schleswig und Holzbergen to see Lady Margaret, please.
Count Felix von Schleswig to see Lady Margaret, sir.
I'm terribly sorry, but she's not home.
Of course she is. I told her I was coming.
I told you she isn't here.
Well, she will be. I will wait. We are the oldest of friends.
While Lucretia keeps the Count entertained, West is of course working to escape.
What was that?
Oh, the servants are moving some furniture. They're so clumsy. More brandy?
No, thank you. I better go help your movers.
Clive! Rod!
Have a nice trip. Now, that's no way to treat an old man. Oh!
You see, it seems he's developed a means of distilling the essence of a diamond. That's what the superheat is for. And just putting it into an elixir that speeds up his metabolism so fast, he essentially becomes invisible. He's turned himself into the Flash. Now, of course, since he has them at his mercy, he could easily kill them, but another aspect of villainy is a huge ego. So naturally, he's going to try to turn them to his side. He's going to do this by temporarily sharing his power. So he takes them to the exhibit, telling them that once he shows them how that works, they'll be inclined to join him.
There'll be a small sip for each of you. Twice as much for me. You'll feel a burning, a dizziness. It's perfectly normal. It'll pass quickly. Feeling better?
Yes. But nothing's changed.
Oh, but you're wrong. There's a very great change. Look around, gentlemen. Find it interesting?
Must be flying.
It is. At 32 feet per second. And in the quarter of a second it takes to reach the ground, we'll be halfway through our job.
It's that odd sound, almost like clicking.
Well, these people you see with their mouths so comically open are speaking. What you're actually hearing are the separate vibrations of the sound wave.
And they can't hear us.
That's right. Because you see, our longest sentence is far briefer than, say, tick of the watch.
How can our bodies stand this?
Simply because our reflexes are so incredibly fast. We react before we allow our momentum to injure us.
Then we're invulnerable. There's no danger to us?
There is one danger. Air friction. During my first experiment, I got rather carried away and was badly scorched. One mustn't move too quickly. You know, I used to just break these with a flick of a finger, but it's such a bore separating the diamonds from the glass. Now, gentlemen, shall we get the really big ones? And what did you devise for this display?
Well, I've hidden some guillotine blades in the frame up here. They come down if the case is disturbed in any way.
Oh, but much too slowly.
I used the most powerful springs I could possibly find.
We've got to stop this.
We'll step on the pressure plate when he gets to the door. The bars come down. But he's moving so quickly.
I don't think we should bother with the rest of the display. If you will, gentlemen.
Pain in my chest.
Me too, just now.
That means the drug is wearing off. For you. I took more. You better hurry along. The effect wears off quite rapidly. Try to explain that. Ta-ta, gentlemen.
Oh, you'll pay for this. Oh, how you'll pay for this. Caught with the goods, red-handed.
Well, they may be in jail, but there never went out a way out. Now, one of the aspects of the show is that West is very, very charming, and he's managed to work his charms on Lucretia. So, with Artemis taking care of the servants, West bursts in on her and Midas, and, well, it looks like Midas may not have the ally he quite thinks he has.
Shoot! Shoot! I took much more than you did, West. You haven't got a chance. As for you, Lucretia, I won't forget how you failed me. I'll finish you later.
Lucretia, throw me the gun. We're moving too fast. We'll burn up from air friction. Feel the pains? It's already wearing off. Alcohol.
What was it?
That was your friend. He spilled alcohol on himself. His air friction set it off.
How horrible.
So that was Wild Wild West, Night of the Burning Diamond. How was it? Pretty entertaining. The woman is suitably lovely and, of course, falls for James' charms. James and Gordon both get an equal amount of screen time doing their particular things. James with his bare-fisted fighting and jumping into situations, and Artemis with his inventive skills and master of disguise. The villain is suitably creepy, and you can tell something's going on from the moment you actually see him on screen. And the plot is unusual, but actually seems to make a certain amount of sense. The science associated with it, of course, is pretty ridiculous, but the idea of how it works is pretty reasonable within the context of the story. Oh, in case you're wondering why this bears a certain resemblance to a third season Star Trek episode, the producer of this series was Fred Freiberger, whom Trek fans will recognize as the person brought in to replace Gene for Trek's third season. This episode doesn't have quite as many elaborate gadgets as many of the others do, but there's a few, like the acetylene cigar to get themselves out of a scrape, and, of course, the villain's plan himself involving the diamonds. So I'm going to give the first season, and this episode in particular, 5 Maple Leafs out of 5. If you want to check out the season, go right ahead. I should warn you, however, that after the second season, when it starts going to color, the violence is toned down and the campiness is toned up. So if you're expecting everything to be like the relatively straightforward first season, you're going to be disappointed with the later ones. I'm Sam Kennedy Craig, and I'll see you at the video store.
Degrees. Well, with that kind of heat, you could burn a...
Quite correct, sir. I could burn a diamond.